let's get the ball rolling with some questions.
Yeah.
Nick, you've been here for a while. How long you been here at Macrocap, and what is it that you do?
I've been here for 3.5 years, and I am just one of the sales guys that goes out and travels and tries to get the big fish.
Are you damn 3.5 years? I thought it was
Yeah.
longer.
No.
God, if it's felt like longer. Um, are you specifically now for international, or are you for other?
So I'm still doing branded business for the customers that we still have for the branded business,
Yeah.
and that is still international mostly. For the private label stuff, it's been mostly domestic with like one or two international customers.
Mhm.
So mostly domestic now.
I was actually talking with Lewis the other day on the pod, and we were talking in regards to you.
Uh huh.
In regards to some of the clients you've landed, it had been some of the biggest ones in macrocap history.
Yep.
I would presume. One of the things that we talked about was he kind of noted this keyword of safety. Let's say when we're trying to get clients, we're trying to get brands to work with us. The keyword of safety came out when we were talking about you. What is your approach necessarily when dealing with some of these brands?
So when you say safety, do you mean like being safe when you approach the customer, or what do you like? What was the background on that?
So
Yeah.
safety as in like, man, these brands, Nick is very well connected, and
Okay.
Nick is doesn't come off as the kind of guy that's gonna try to screw you over, right?
Okay. Okay.
He's like, that's kind of a sure bet of
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah.
I think that's the where Lou is getting at.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, where I've had success with getting the bigger companies involved is, approaching them as more of an advisor, like, hey, this is what's going on right now. I see you guys don't have it. There's a company that has a name that really fits in the carbonated protein
Yeah.
category. And I actually ran into them at Expo West. So it's also like going to certain shows that you can get some success at. So like I met this company at Expo West, and they basically their name spoke to having carbonated protein,
Yeah.
but all they were presenting at Expo West was a still protein drink.
Hmm.
So I approached them after Expo West, like a month later, after everybody's calmed down after that. And I said, hey, we could make this be what your name actually means.
Mm.
And within a couple days, they reached out to me. So you just gotta, sometimes take a chance and find. And that was through a marketing person at that company that they got me in touch with their CEO at that point.
Yeah.
So it's about crafting the right email. I mean, emails still help, I think,
Yeah.
these days. And not coming across like you're aggressive. I never am aggressive, I guess. I don't know if that's beneficial or not, but people seem to trust me.
Yeah. I think that's a holy crap. I never thought of it that way. But then I'm not a sales guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of just saying, hey, we can do this for you, it's
Yeah.
more like, hey, yo, have you ever thought about the fact that you can possibly do what you're doing, but do it in a different capacity?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could target a different audience. So
Yep.
your approach is more so as an advisor approach. Um, and maybe it's a yes or no
Yeah.
from the standpoint of they may or may not do business with us,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, you're still helping them with giving them some type of advice as to what you see in the industry going on.
Yeah, and you have to be patient because the company I'm meeting with tomorrow, actually, I did my first visit with them a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And I just met with them. I said, hey, we can do, they were more focused in powders and capsules as their business model. And I was like, hey, we could do all these varieties of liquids
Yep.
just to show them what is out there. Cause a lot of them are so siloed into what their current business is. They're not out there researching. So I think that's also another way to approach it. But it's still that advisor role of like, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
And just get in touch with the right people, obviously
And I
too.
think there's a level of like, hey, hold my hand of sorts. This just sounds a little condescending, but hold my hand and I can
Yeah.
show you some other things
Yes.
that of what you're already doing, but just expand your offerings
Yep.
to your clientele.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's happened with like the really large companies that I've been able to at least get to our office for a tour
Yeah.
is the bit like I did know somebody who knew somebody higher up in that company.
Hmm.
So that really does help also, So I've been in the sports nutrition side of the world for over 20 years. So I still do have those connections. And I think have a good reputation in the sports nutrition world. So also that helps when people go to check and back up that you're a legit person, you're
Yep.
working for a legit company and all of that. Because there's a lot of manufacturers that say that they do manufacture, but they're just a broker and they're acting like a manufacturer.
Mm,
So that's a lot of
a little bit of a
these.
middleman in
Yeah,
between.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these companies that kind of almost scam other bigger companies into getting into positions that they don't want to be in with products that aren't really being produced by whatever said company is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your when it comes to your track record, there is obviously you talked about kind of the I think this Macrocap way of just like saying, hey, I can partner with you whether you take my services or not
Yeah.
here at Macrocap. Like you can go somewhere else and do a beverage somewhere else, right? But like I'm giving you the idea that you could possibly do it with us. If you want to take it somewhere else, that's fine.
Yep.
You also to have experience. Is there another kind of cog in that, or what's the split of percentage that you think that
Like
it works?
experience versus just presenting a different option for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people. I mean, I think it's no, I think those are the two things that really have ended up working for me. It's like knowing other people in the industry or just being that advisor of like, hey, there's a this category is this big. Why aren't you guys doing it?
Mhm.
So we can do this for you and get you
Yeah.
in there.
Is that advice? This wasn't on my question list,
Yeah.
but let's say if you were to give advice to younger Nick, or let's say some upcoming sales reps that are
Yep.
dealing with brands in the CPG industry,
Yep.
what would be your advice that you'd give them?
Boy, that's a big question. If I had to give myself advice back in the day, it would be really study the industry, like what's going on, trends, really understand the trends, know a new innovate like carbonated proteins.
Yeah.
The carbonated proteins has been around for almost 10 years,
Mhm.
but now the material is at a spot that you can actually do a good carbonated protein. So you got to know when to push that innovation. Because if I would have pushed that 10 years ago, I would have been laughed out the door. So you also
Mhm.
have to know, because I've always been excited by anything new and innovation in the sports nutrition world, but I've gotten behind some stuff that like it just the next year it fails. Or like pump liquids are huge right now.
Yeah.
In 2018, brands were doing pump liquids and it failed within a year. So it's like it's all about timing, knowing what the trends are, and knowing where the gaps are for larger companies is about knowing what their gaps are
Gotcha.
and that they're willing to do innovation.
Gotcha. So to be successful, to per your
Yeah.
kind of give a little bit of a roundup,
Yep.
definitely study market trends,
Yep.
and then definitely see where you can fill in the gaps for. I think that's just capitalism in general,
Yeah.
to a certain
True,
degree,
true. Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think business. I think there's a level of that even just with brands, right? Like
Yeah.
that same advice instead of just providing for a sales team or a
Yeah.
salesperson or something like that. I think brands in general, like, man, are we seeing where the market is going? And then on top of that, what gaps can I fill for some of the customers? So obviously, one of the trends is protein.
Yep.
That's a gap that's trying to be filled, and everybody's trying to fill it. And I think that gap is starting to get, a little overloaded.
Yeah.
What are outside of pro outside ugh, outside of protein of itself?
Yep.
What are some of the trends that you're seeing right now?
Boy, I'm so heavily focused in protein right now. I have not seen a lot of other stuff outside of that. What I am seeing is still in the protein world, it's protein plus something else,
Mhm.
protein plus, whether that's protein plus caffeine, protein plus prebiotics, or whatever it is. Though it's trends about around protein right now for me. I mean, Macrocap in general, that's the biggest part of our business.
Yeah,
So, um, I think, the BLG shots, that's starting to really take off. We're starting to get enough supply of the raw materials and everything. So I think that's going to be a pretty good trend going into 2026. And then, yeah, anything that can be sold as a single unit on a retail shelf and is quick consumption, that's going to win right now. So that goes over to functional foods or anything like that too, not just in the liquid world.
gotcha. And you talked about for Macrocap, obviously protein is super heavy right
Yeah.
now. We have everybody, jumping on that. We also talked about GLP-1 for
Yes.
2026. What are
Yep.
some? We're almost at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're in August.
I know.
We're
Crazy.
in crunch time right
I
now.
know.
What are some of the maybe suspected trends that you see going for 2026 outside of GLP-1?
Yeah, and protein in general. I think gut health. I've been hearing gut health for the last year is just exploding. magnesium supplements, like more just health and wellness type supplements, I think are going to continue to get larger and larger.
Gotcha. Magnesium as in for like sleep aid or just
Just yeah, magnesium, vitamin D, those are really important just for your daily health.
mhm.
And then yeah, I would say people are getting, in my opinion, more and more just away from the hardcore supplements
Yep.
in
I've started
general.
seeing that too.
I mean, that's why I think there's less. That's why the energy drink world is starting to slow down. I think people are moving away from stimulants even
Mhm.
more than they were before. So I think it's going to be other forms of energy out, even outside of protein.
Yeah.
That's why paraxanthine, for example, is a great ingredient because it's something different that can make you feel energized without the crash from caffeine.
Paraxanthium. That's one that as soon as you started talking about like stimulants and people were trying to like tone down a little
Yep.
bit on that,
Yep.
that was the first thing that came to mind. Mid podcast interruption, but just want to inform all you guys that are enjoying the Nick interview so far that the Macrocap Labs team will be at supply side this October, October 2025. We love to connect with the brands that are already working with us and the brands that want to work with us in the future. Shake hands, talk shop, have a drink. So we will see you at supply side this October, October 2025. Be on the lookout. Now back to the pod.
I think, yeah, I think it's going to be more, again, health and wellness, low stem or no stem, and other ways of getting clean energy. I don't even know if the neurotropic phase is still growing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a lot of people focused on that anymore.
Mm,
Um, and then pump liquids are blowing up right
public
now,
is
but I'm
liquids.
trying to think for 2026. Yeah,
That but the when it comes to pump liquids, I think that also goes in line with it too because now
yeah,
even though I still love me some caffeine, I still
yeah,
love me to get a certain level before a workout.
yep,
Um, I would love to tone it down a little bit when it comes to caffeine because
yep,
I want to be able to sleep.
yep,
So sometimes let's say if I go to a late night work, not late night workout, but if I go to a workout in the afternoon or in the evening, let's say I'm working out with Lou,
yep,
and he wants to move a whole bunch of weight, I'd rather just go for a if they have an RTD for a pump liquid,
yeah, yeah,
instead of just going for an outright like pre-workout.
yep.
Is there like, yeah, I don't know how I should ask this, but is there a level of death when it comes to the super loaded pre-workout formulas?
Man, I mean, we're so far removed from making those types of formulas now. I haven't really kept
Yeah.
up on them. So I think,
Or just let's say not even stimulants or pre-workouts, just in general, like
like,
people that brands that are like just heavily dosing their stuff,
oh,
like
like with
just
caffeine.
overloading it
Oh,
with caffeine, with whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be
yeah. So like
necessarily a
the
stimulant.
hardcore brands, let's
Yeah, hardcore
say, yeah.
brands.
So the hardcore brands, I think what I'm seeing from what I can see, like the old school hardcore brands, they've started to decline on the hardcore pre workouts or whatever.
Yep.
I'll say pro subs because they're kind of on this path. They used to be the hardcore brand 10 years ago. Now they're all into CPG, Target, clean labels.
Yep.
So to be really successful to where you can go sell to a private equity or something like that, that's the move you have to make no matter what.
Yep.
So there's going to always be a hardcore brand out there, but none of them will really they'll hit a maximum growth where it's such a niche consumer you're selling to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're trying to market to most of America. Well, let's say we're in America. We're gonna get to obviously
Yeah.
outside of America,
Yep.
but at the current moment, we're trying to market to the majority of Americans versus just like a specific hardcore crew.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I've seen that when it comes to labels where I'm trying to get brands to when I'm designing labels and sleeves for energy drink cans and for pre-workouts
Mhm.
and whatever it may be, I'm starting to notice a trend where I have to kind of hold them by the hand a little bit and say, "Hey, like I get you really want to be hardcore, but I would love for you to get into Target.
Yeah.
Like I would love for you to get into
So Whole Foods is a
I would
great
love to
example.
get you
Yeah.
into Whole
Yeah.
Foods. I'd love to get
They're
you
the
into
most strict on
yeah.
what's
Like
allowed. Yeah.
it's not necessarily a success if we make the most banging formula,
Yeah.
right? Or it's not a success if we overload this and the cogs for this are ridiculously expensive.
Yep.
Like because we provided the best product.
Yep.
It's a win if I got people on the shelves of major retailers,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Is there anything you want to add on to
Yeah, I
that?
mean, I think, if you're talking Vitamin Shop, GNC, those are big wins. Like those are big goals for companies. And I think those are worth the goal, hitting that goal.
Yeah.
But if you're making a formula that fits into there, it's not going to be typically, you're going to have to change a lot of stuff to go into Target or
Mm-hmm.
Costco or whatever it is. So
No.
they do have to have that in their plan. Maybe start at GNC, Vitamin Shop to get the recognition and then start changing from there. That's like a good way to build the brand, getting into your GNCs, Vitamin Shops, whatever mom and pop stores are
Yeah.
still left.
But
But even for Amazon though, to your point, Amazon's
that's
really
another one.
strict, and they keep getting more and more strict of what they allow to be sold on there.
Mm,
So going back to your question earlier, where like picking the right manufacturer, we have all the certifications you need to be on Amazon. We do all the testing you need to be on Amazon. But from a brand perspective, there's a lot of rules you have to follow to be sold on Amazon too. Like Amazon doesn't want anything risky anymore either.
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And it kind of adds on to my conversation with Lewis the other day.
Yeah.
Because one hell of a line that he dropped. I had asked about claims, right? I've dealt with brands that they want to use like the latest and greatest of top formulas for everything. They want to overload it with a million different things.
Yep.
And his word of advice was, "What's your ROI on each of those claims that you're trying to
Yep.
provide?"
Yep.
So it's like we use the example of like creatine, right? Like obviously now there's some scientific research
Sure.
that it can help with your mood and stuff like that. But if I were to tell people that creatine can help you fly,
Yeah.
like how many people are buying creatine because they think that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the product that you're trying to sell, you can make some audacious claims and that's great.
Yeah.
And maybe they're somewhat kind of legal,
Yeah.
but like, well, how much money are you making off of that? And is that kind of nullifying you from getting into a Target, getting into a Walmart?
Well, and does
getting
your
into a
consumer
Sam's Club?
really want it? Like I love it. Like I love a lot of the ingredients, but I'm not gonna like. Does the consumer know what it is? I mean, all of those things. I mean, it's like sometimes you just dig yourself into a hole you can't get out of with pricing. I mean, yeah, you got to think about every aspect of that for margins for each level of where you sell it into.
Gotcha. Now, when it comes to, I guess my last topic before we get to international
Yep.
is the current trend with people wanting protein in every little thing that they have,
Yeah.
for food or beverage, whatever it may be. Um, Prebiotics for sodas. Is that the consumer getting educated, or is it more so brands educating people that, hey, this is
No, that's a good question. So like I think it came from brands. So like Olipop, Poppy, Bloom. I think those brands did what they did and educated the entire consumer base of the US.
Yeah.
Like that's the only reason people, I think, on a large scale are thinking about gut health, know what apple cider vinegar does, knows what prebiotics can do. And then I think like Bloom has a greens drink, so I think it's those types of brands that aren't held back by big corporations that do end up helping the consumer. But the only way they won is they knew the right brokers to get you into the right doors, and they weren't doing crazy formulas either.
Yeah. Safe formulas.
Yeah, safe formulas. Yeah,
so to speak.
Yeah.
Now getting into international, that's a big role that you've held here.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Now I asked that in that manner because I do believe that there is a market and there is a somewhat booming market when it comes to international. I don't know if you could speak towards that.
Yeah. So I mean, going back to the contract manufacturing side, I mean, we're helping a good chunk of the brands that we're producing right now do their international registration. So I've kind of taken over that part where I'm helping, some of these brands on the shelf get into the Middle East, Latin America, Australia. So I help them and help the team with like doing the registration. So I'm still dabbling in that side, but it's mostly just like documentation. I'm not having to do the selling anymore.
Yep.
And I think it's actually helped a lot of the brands that we work with because a lot of the companies that are doing the registrations already know me just from my history, and they know that they can call me, get in touch with me anytime to help with whatever documents they need to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there kind of like we were talking about in America, that there is a kind of simplification of some of the brands. Like
Yeah.
there is obviously we're starting to merge a lot of categories together,
Yeah.
but simplified at the same time. I know that's a little double entendre of sorts. Is Do we see this? Do we see the same trends kind of going internationally?
Like from dumb, like for lack of a better word, like dumbed down formulas. Is that what you're
Yeah, a little bit
meaning?
more of dumbed down formula, as well as also to a combining of the formulas.
Yeah. So for most of the world outside of the US, I would say a high percentage, like 80, 90% of the countries outside of the US follow EU regulations.
Hmm.
So, and the EU is very strict. Like they have a ton of ingredients that are allowed, that we allow in the US, not allowed in EU. So because of that, they're most of the formulas that are going over there, they don't really get to do any innovation with. It's more just like flavor add-ons. Nothing, they can't do anything like high caffeine. They can't do certain ingredients like allulose if your allulose is in your product. So you just have to know what that EU list of, I guess, banned ingredients are, um, before you make a formula. I mean,
Yep.
that's all it is. And the percentage levels you need to be at for each ingredient.
Well, what markets would you say would be some of the best markets? Let's say if my brand has gotten big enough
Yeah.
within America, um, what about some of the markets across the world?
Yeah, I
I
would
know you talked about Middle
Yeah,
East,
Middle
Asia.
East is great. Middle East is great. I mean, they it's a huge population, obviously. India is great if you can find a manufacturer in India that you can trust and work with.
Mm,
That's probably the highest risk one. Mexico is probably the easiest one to go to.
just right next door.
Yeah, well, that and it's easy to get stuff registered. It's easy
Mm,
to get stuff over there. Um, and then outside of that, I mean, it's like Australia is great. I don't know if I just said that. And then really Europe, unless you can find manufacturing over there and your brand's big enough, I don't even know if I would touch Europe at this point.
mm,
They have the brands like local brands from European countries, so
yeah,
it's super competitive.
they're kind of already settled.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
But the Middle East is still loves American products. They still, I mean, it's a huge chunk of land. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of business in all of the countries over there. So
Would it be, I don't know how to phrase this. Would it be safe to kind of say, because of the area, what maybe through the news, what we may have historically known the Middle East to be, um, they don't oftentimes get a lot of love from the rest of the world.
yeah,
So maybe American companies investing in expanding in that area, uh, a lot of love is received back. A
yeah,
lot of love is received back.
like they appreciate us even approaching them, type of thing. Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're?
Is there a thing to that?
No, I think that used to be the perception of like don't do business over there.
Yeah.
But I think now, I mean, I think they're just considered another partner, like whether it be in Dubai or Kuwait or Oman or wherever over there. Um, you're usually working with a local distributor that then distributes to those countries.
Yeah.
So it's like you're only working with one group and it's easy business. They're prepaid, it's a good business to run over there. And they aren't as tied to, like, if you're talking to some other countries, the the extra price that's added on for shipping over there, paying the taxes and everything. Like, people over there can afford it for the most part, or a good chunk of the population can. Whereas some other countries you would try to get into, once it's imported, most of the population can't even afford the product, like
Gotcha.
like Brazil, for example. Like
Gotcha. Gotcha.
unless you're making it there, you probably won't be able to be successful there.
Gotcha. I was talking to a brand owner a couple, like actually last week. I was talking to a brand
Yep.
owner last week. He was saying that shots, they do pretty good here in America. And it's not a protein.
Yeah.
They do pretty good here in America, but they sell crazy. They're currently selling crazy around online in America.
Yep.
What are some of the trends? Because just like we have trends here in America, there's
Yeah.
trends all across the world as to what people like, what people don't like. I don't know if shots is a crazy
I
one.
haven't, yeah, I haven't heard shots very often. Like usually when you get into liquids shipping internationally,
Yeah.
it's a tough conversation for most folks to have. But then, I mean, I would say the biggest request I've been getting lately is just canned functional drinks in general, like whatever we're calling it, the modern sodas.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And they're, but I don't know if that's now we're only seeing that because of who we are now at this point.
Yeah.
People know us as the beverage manufacturer more than
As a
anything else.
Macrocap or America?
Macrocap,
Okay, gotcha.
Macrocap, yeah. So I think maybe that's why I have that skewed view. But I mean, I think one of the biggest things internationally that I've gotten requested and I've not been able to do, and I don't really know many companies that do this. So if any companies want to reach out, I'll send leads your way. Is doing those like goo gel packets, like for
Oh, I know.
endurance, like
in
endurance.
Europe, they have that.
Yeah. So
They're very
like
big on that.
I get requests constantly from people I know to do those types of products. But that's, I'm sure it's like special machinery and everything like that. So I think what's happening, okay, I'll speak to Latin America because that's where I get the most requests for that from.
Yeah.
I think they've really gotten into the endurance sports. So cycling, running, marathons, all of those, swimming. I think those countries have kind of started leaning that way, and that's why I'm seeing more and more requests for that. But I think it might be a global thing. I just know for sure it's Latin America too.
So Latin America, when it comes to like kind of like the I haven't tried it in Latin America, but I know I've had it in Europe.
Yeah.
Those little goo pouches.
Yep.
Those are protein.
No,
food,
it's like a carbohydrate. So for recovery, and sometimes they'll do like carbohydrate with caffeine or something to have you energy through your run or something like
Gotcha.
that.
So that's Latin America. Let's say Middle East.
Middle East. I think they follow more trends of Europe. And I'm gonna forget the name of it, but they've done like a lot of like porridge protein type stuff.
Like an oatmeal protein.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like rice porridge protein. Like I've seen that a lot. They're into like it's fortified protein products again. So it's
Yeah.
similar to the US. And they don't do as much of like the high caffeine and all of that over there. And then, yeah, well, because most of the time you
It's
have to
not
stay
allowed.
under 200 milligrams anyways.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I mean, it's really the trends that are happening in the US end up going everywhere else. I mean, I've been getting so many international carbonated protein requests that it's crazy that it's gotten that far so fast.
Is there? We've talked about Middle East, Latin America.
That was Middle East.
Europe
That,
is
yeah.
kind of a no in your eyes at
In my
least.
eyes, yeah.
Just because of all the regulations and because Europe is a lot more established.
Yeah,
and
they're more
similar.
like it's like a mini US, I would say. Yeah.
Getting to Asia, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the trends you see in Asia?
Asia in general, I haven't been doing much business in Asia lately. So I think, what's happened is India really stepped up their manufacturing.
Mhm.
China obviously has all their manufacturing. So I think a lot of those companies have found to start trusting the local manufacturers and not worry as much about making products made in the USA.
Gotcha.
So I think, again, talking India specifically, I mean, that's why I was like, you would have to find a manufacturer you trust there and just make the products there if you're wanting to do your brand from the US over in that part of the world.
But does tariffs come into that as well too? As part of the reason why?
I mean, I don't think the tariffs to the US have affected that. I think it's just really like I know somebody in Thailand, for example, that he opened up his own manufacturing plant and now he's making all of the products he used to make in the US in Thailand. So I think a lot of that is happening. And that's where the most growth is happening in the world is in Asia, Southeast Asia specifically. It's got the youngest population. The most money is going to be going there in the next like 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the economy is moving to that part of the world, so they don't really need the U.S. anymore, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you got Bali, you got Japan, you got some of these.
Korea, you have.
I mean, a lot of digital nomads already going to flock into that.
I mean, Vietnam's a great manufacturing country. I mean, there's a lot of options over there.
I've kind of asked this, but kind of asking it again. Let's say, is there a booming market for international?
If you do it the right way and are strategic, obviously, about it. I mean, I think it's dwindled for sure. But I think, if you focus in the Middle East, like I said, I think you could win. You can still win there pretty confidently. Australia, they've been increasing their manufacturing in country. They still don't have the capabilities that the US has. So I think until they do, you could still probably have some success over there on the beverage beverage liquid
Yeah,
space.
like the smart sodas and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
but like powders and stuff, I think all of that's over there. I mean, like Glambia or Optimum Nutrition, they have their own manufacturing over there now. Like it's starting to be where they don't need to rely on the US and the quality standards are just as good as the US,
Yeah,
So I think it's a there's always opportunity there, but it's going to be very specialized. It's got to be the right fit in the right country, and it's a bigger risk than it would have been like 10, 15 years ago.
gotcha.
This is what I'll say, yeah.
Let's say for those that are about to go international,
Yeah.
right? They've set up a kind of a catalog here. They have experience. They are making money here.
Yep.
They still want to do international, whether it be Middle East, Australia,
Yep.
Asia.
Yep.
Um, what would be your advice? I know we've talked about trademarking. We've talked about like
Yep.
some of the things to look out for. There's obviously a change in formulas that needs to
Yep.
happen. What are some of your advice for some of
I
those?
mean, that covers most of it. I would just say at this point in time, don't ever give terms. Make sure it's all 100% prepaid.
Hmm.
Do all the trademark work for sure. Um,
Elaborate on the trademark.
so trademark,
Because I was mind blown.
yeah, no. So the trademark was basically there's some countries that are first to use, which means like if you created a package and sold it one time to somebody, you'll always have and you have like documentation of that, you'll always have the first right. Like in the US, that's what it is, first to use. You'll always have the right to get that trademark in the country. There's some countries that are called first to file countries. So China is one of those countries, Argentina, there's a bunch out there where it's like whoever just brings the trademark first to the trademark office in that country owns the trademark. Like there's no
In that
back
country.
in that country,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But that could be huge. I mean, if you don't get your trademark in China, you'll never be able to do business in China basically unless
Yep.
you want to go pay off whoever this trademark owner is. So,
That's wild. So I can have I have the Jared brand here, right?
yeah.
Let's say it makes $1 billion, wishful thinking.
Yeah.
It makes $1 billion here. I go internationally.
Yep.
Well, not even. I'm thinking about going internationally. I call up somebody in whatever country,
Yep.
like, oh, great, I'll be your middleman. I'll be your distributor, whatever, like that. That person takes my idea, takes my logos and labels that I use, go straight to the trademarking office in that specific country, and now he could sell. He
He
or
could
she
he
could.
could he could technically make your product in his country and have the same branding and everything that you're doing. Yeah.
Wow.
You would have to either pay him off or find some other like that's the only way you could really get that brand back then.
In that country.
In that country only, yeah.
I'm mind blown. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy.
So
This is
go
the
look for
wild. This is the
go
Wild
look for
West.
big brand trademarks that aren't owned in other countries and go
I mean,
trademark.
I think I've spoken to you. I mean, we're both part Ecuadorian, or
Yeah,
you're full
yeah,
Ecuadorian.
I'm half Ecuadorian, yeah.
So we're both half Ecuadorian.
Yeah.
I remember I've only been to Ecuador one time, but I do remember. I think there were some pretty big brands
Oh, yeah.
that I'm just like, well, that's
Well, I mean,
do it just
so I mean,
instead
like,
of just do it. Like, what's
I mean, there's a lot of risk and you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's good people that can go out there and like do the trademarks quickly for, I don't think it's that expensive for what you get protected by.
Mhm.
So it's worth the time and the effort to figure out the lawyer to get with to get the trademarks.
So I
done
feel
right.
like even to end this whole conversation, we've been here
Yeah.
for about 40 minutes, but even to end this conversation, I feel like your tone has kind of shifted
It
when it
has.
comes to international.
Yeah.
Because I feel like international, you're just like 2 years ago, you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
No, it's
There's
totally
a lot of money in there, and now it's just well,
Yeah, no, it totally has changed in the past few years. I would say, I mean, I think COVID helped that because I think it showed that these other countries needed their own manufacturing.
gotcha.
You know what I mean? So they're like, okay, we can't rely on the US anymore if something like COVID happens again. So they started investing in making their own facilities that are just as, NSF certified, GMP, all of those things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So basically,
it's a little bit sketchier for international at this point. Yeah.
gotcha. So do your due diligence if you're going international.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not the highest recommendation for Mr. Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I always say if the opportunity's there and you meet the right people, I think and you get a contract, prepayment, all of that, it's worth the risk. I mean, you never know; it could blow up in that country.
Yeah.
Hey, we're still the innovation hub for
That's
nutrition and all of that
At least
stuff.
for manufacturing, we suck. No. we only manufacture here. But yeah, it was good talking to you,
No,
Mr.
thanks,
Nick.
Jared.
Hopefully, we're able to throw this the full length of this on
Oh my
some type of
god, the
platform.
whole thing.
Yeah, instead of just clips. But I think it was a great conversation. We've already been here for 40 minutes, 55 seconds,
I
41
appreciate it.
minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Jared.